I stood alone in the hallway when the lie took its first breath. It was small, almost harmless, whispered with practiced innocence, but it landed like a blade between my ribs. By morning it had a voice. By night it had a crowd. They looked at me differently, as if my face had changed overnight. Friends avoided my eyes, coworkers spoke in careful tones. I learned quickly how fast truth can be buried under confident lies. I tried to speak, but my words fell flat, drowned by louder stories crafted to sound believable. The more I explained, the guiltier I appeared. Silence was forced on me, not chosen. I stopped defending myself, because every defense became another accusation. At home, I sat in the dark replaying conversations, searching for the moment I could have stopped it. I lost sleep. I lost weight. I lost the version of myself who trusted people easily. They smiled in public while tearing me apart in private messages and quiet meetings. Their lies were neat, emotional, and convenient. My truth was messy, painful, and slow. I watched my reputation collapse piece by piece, like glass slipping from shaking hands. Still, somewhere beneath the fear, a quiet resolve formed. I did not scream. I did not beg. I did not disappear. I stayed. I listened. I remembered everything. That night marked the beginning of my education in restraint, observation, and patience. I learned who spoke without knowing, who benefited from my fall, and who stayed silent. To stay safe, I wrote nothing publicly, but I recorded dates, names, and contradictions. I promised myself one thing only. I would survive this with my dignity intact. Even then, I sensed the story was not over. Only paused, waiting for the truth to breathe again in its own time. Silence became my shelter and my sentence at the same time. I went to work, smiled when required, and swallowed every unfair glance. The lies grew roots. They were repeated in meetings, hinted at in jokes, and confirmed by nods. No one asked me directly anymore. They assumed answers. I felt erased while still present. Each day demanded strength I did not know I possessed. I stopped reacting because reactions fed the fire. Instead, I watched patterns form. The same names appeared wherever damage followed. The same stories changed details depending on the listener. Late at night, I organized my thoughts like evidence on a table. I saved emails. I noted timelines. I remembered promises. Making pain sharpen my focus. I trained myself to breathe through humiliation and walk through rooms with my head high. People mistook my calm for weakness. They mistook my patience for surrender. I let them. I learned that silence can be loud when paired with memory. Inside me, anger transformed into discipline. I read policies. I studied procedures. I asked quiet questions to the right people. I prepared without announcing myself. Every insult added fuel, not fire. I was no longer trying to clear my name. I was preparing to reclaim it. Justice, I realized, does not rush. It waits for precision. I kept my notes hidden and my voice steady. When doubt crept in, I reminded myself why I endured. Survival required strategy. Strategy required time. Time was something they underestimated in me, and that mistake would matter later. Each quiet step forward stitched my confidence back together slowly, carefully, until I trusted my footing again. I was becoming stronger in ways no rumor could reach or destroy. That realization steadied me when everything else shook and kept my resolve unbroken inside. They tried to rewrite my past, but I began reclaiming it. Line by line, small cracks appeared in their perfect story. Someone asked a question they could not answer smoothly. A document surfaced that contradicted their version. I did nothing publicly. I simply allowed truth to exist. Quietly, I shared facts with those who valued accuracy over gossip. I chose allies wisely, people with integrity and patience. The weight of isolation lifted slightly. I felt seen, not believed yet, but seen. My confidence returned in fragments. I stopped apologizing for things I did not do. When confronted, I responded with calm clarity instead of emotion. That change unsettled them. Lies depend on reactions. My composure denied them that fuel. Behind closed doors, pressure mounted on them. Their tones sharpened, their friendliness faded. I recognized fear beneath their arrogance. I continued documenting everything. Each attempt to intimidate me became further proof. I learned the power of timing. Revenge rushed is justice ruined. I waited. I refined my plan, aligning facts, witnesses, and procedures. I was no longer alone in my silence. Others, inspired by my steadiness, began sharing their own experiences. A pattern emerged, undeniable and damning. The story was no longer about me. It was about behavior, and behavior leaves trails. I felt my spine straighten with purpose. Every day I grew more certain that the truth did not need decoration. Only space. The lies began collapsing under their own weight. Slowly then, all at once, as scrutiny replaced sympathy, I stayed steady, knowing this moment was earned. Not gifted, my patience had transformed pain into leverage. And leverage into inevitability. They could feel the shift, and it terrified them. For the first time I held the ground beneath us. Nothing they said could move me now. Not anymore. Ever. The confrontation did not come with shouting or tears. It arrived dressed as a routine meeting. Polite and controlled, I walked in prepared not to accuse, but to present facts have a quiet authority. I laid them out carefully, one by one. Dates aligned, statements contradicted themselves. Witnesses confirmed patterns. The room changed. Confidence drained from their faces as certainty replaced speculation. They interrupted me at first, then stopped. Lies cannot survive under consistent light. I felt no joy watching them unravel. Only a calm validation. This was not revenge. This was correction. The narrative they built collapsed under its own weight. For the first time, they were forced to listen without controlling the story. I spoke slowly, clearly, without anger that unnerved them more than any outburst could. When the meeting ended, nothing was officially resolved yet, but everything had shifted outside. My hands shook not from fear, but release. I had carried this alone for too long. Words spread quickly, differently this time. People began asking me questions. Real ones. Apologies followed. Some sincere, some awkward. I accepted none publicly. My focus remained forward. Accountability is not comfort. It is consequence. I continued cooperating, providing what was asked, never more. Never less pressure mounted on those who lied. Not from me, but from their own inconsistencies. I slept better. I breathed deeper. I remembered who I was before the lie and realized I was stronger now. Silence had trained me. Pain had sharpened me. I did not need to be loud to be heard anymore. My presence was enough, steady and undeniable. The outcome arrived quietly. Without ceremony, official findings corrected the record. Statements were amended, responsibilities reassigned. There were no dramatic confessions, only careful acknowledgments of error. Still, the truth stood. My name was cleared not through sympathy, but through evidence. Those who lied lost something more valuable than status. They lost credibility. People watch them differently now. The room no longer leaned toward their voices. I was offered apologies I had once begged for in my mind. I accepted them with composure, not warmth. Forgiveness is personal, justice is public. I focused on rebuilding what mattered to me. Opportunities returned cautiously at first. Then confidently I chose which ones to accept. Power, I learned, is the ability to choose without fear. Some relationships could not be repaired. I let them go without regret. Others surprised me, showing loyalty I had not expected. I honored that quietly. The experience rewired me. I trusted my instincts more. I spoke less, but with intention. I understood now that dignity is not given back. It is maintained. Watching those who hurt me struggle with the consequences of their actions, I felt no satisfaction, only closure. Karma is not cruelty, it is balance. They faced what they created, nothing more. I carried forward what I earned. The difference mattered. My story was no longer defined by betrayal, but by how I responded to it. I had not destroyed anyone. I had simply refused to be destroyed. That distinction became my strength. Life did not magically become perfect, but it became honest. I walked into spaces without bracing myself for impact. My laughter returned, unfamiliar but real. I noticed how people listened now, how my words landed without resistance. The shadow of doubt lifted. I mentored others quietly, especially women navigating unfair narratives. I taught them what silence had taught me. Document everything, trust patterns, protect your peace. I never shared details of my case unless asked. My power was no longer in the story, but in the stability I carried. Those who once dismissed me now measured their words carefully. Respect replaced pity. I did not gloat. I did not remind them. True victory does not require witnesses. Internally, I healed in layers. Some days were heavier than others. Trauma does not vanish because justice appears, but I faced it with tools I earned. I allowed myself rest. I allowed myself joy. I stopped explaining my boundaries. The world adjusted. Looking back, I understood the lesson fully. Lies move fast, but they age poorly. Truth moves slowly, but it endures. My silence had not been weakness. It had been preparation. I had learned how to stand alone without breaking. That knowledge changed how I walked through life. I no longer feared being misunderstood. I trusted time to reveal what mattered. And time, I learned, is the most honest witness of all. Everyone believed their lies because lies are easier than accountability. My truth returned, not as a scream, but as karma, precise and unavoidable. I did not need to announce it. It arrived through consequences, through corrected records, through changed behaviors. The world adjusted around what was real. I stood taller, not because I won, but because I endured without losing myself. This is what they never expected. They thought silence meant surrender. They thought patience meant fear. They were wrong. Silence can be strategy. Patience can be power. I carry no hatred for what happened. It taught me discernment, strength, and self-respect. When I speak now, it is because my words add value, not because I seek validation. My story belongs to me again. I define it, I protect it, and I share it only when it helps someone else stand up straighter. Karma did not come crashing down dramatically. It settled in quietly, permanently restoring balance. That is how truth works. It does not rush. It waits, and when it arrives, it does not ask for permission.